edgy summer in Europe. When you go around cities, certainly in Italy, you see a very, very heavy police and at times army presence. So people are living in expectation that these sorts of things could occur, and you can only imagine the fear that was drilled into people's hearts on Las Ramblas in Barcelona when police told them to run. We've been hearing eyewitness reports, Harris, of people who are barricaded inside shops that have pulled down those metal grates, those grills. We've heard from people who are barricaded inside a church. The reports are that the person driving that van that ran into people just a short time ago fled on foot. You mentioned that there may be a simultaneous incident going on in a Turkish restaurant with armed gunmen who have entered and possibly taken hostages. We need to be careful. Is that the driver of the van on the loose, or is this something else? So there are a lot of unresolved questions right now, but we do know that media reports are saying that 2 people may have been killed as a result of this crash, which authorities basically initially were just calling a massive crash. This happened a short time ago in Europe. It's just 6 o'clock in the evening, Harris. You know what sort of time that is for people getting ready for dinner, maybe going out to have a cocktail. Spaniards coming back from a possible afternoon nap. There would be a lot of foot traffic on Las Ramblas.
Amy, would you let me cut in?
Running through Barcelona.
Amy, yes. I want to cut in just a second. Sky News is reporting, and we on our network, Sky News is reporting that the 2 people thought to have been killed in the van crash. Barcelona police are saying now, quote unquote, this is a terrorist attack. And that's what they are reporting going based on Barcelona police. Go ahead.
And assuming, especially when the driver fled on foot, because had it been some sort of freak accident, it would be more likely that a driver would be slumped over a wheel. In any event, this is certainly something that is happening at a time when the center of Barcelona would be very busy. Barcelona has not had a major incident as far as I can recall, certainly not a major incident, which has been, causing concern because there's fear that not everyone who is arriving has good intentions and is looking for work. But again, we don't know anything about the identity of people involved in this case. Spain did have a couple of major terrorist attacks back in 2004, bombings on trains in Madrid that left 191 people dead. But since then, as I mentioned, it has been to an extent off the radar, and certainly a country known for a lot of joy and good weather, and it's a time of year when there would certainly be very many tourists.
Amy, forgive me again.
We were hearing from eyewitnesses.
Any of those who are actually caught up in this crash, any of the victims, the injured?
No, we didn't see any of the victims. We just saw people sort of running, like everyone sort of running with their kids and crying and happening.
And up until that point, this was just a normal summer's day in Barcelona?
Yeah, police about, but we just kind of thought of just a precaution, isn't it? But I don't know if something had been picked off or whatever, but we did think there was a lot of police about today.
And Barcelona at the moment who's suggesting that people are being told to get indoors, to stay in their offices, to stay in their hotels. I mean, that, I presume, is the advice given to you as well?
We just give them the same advice.
And have you been in Barcelona for longer than a day? I mean, I just want you to try and compare and contrast what you can see from your windows at the moment with what you might have seen yesterday at around the same time.
Yeah, we've been here for a few days and everything was fine. We've been down the shopping with Lambla there last night, just like to make normal, and then everything's just sort of chaos just now.
And Lindsay, if you can just had put themselves in a bar. El Periódico newspaper is reporting La Boqueria market didn't say where they had that information. It is not, however, immediately clear. We should make absolutely apparent at this moment that these 2 armed individuals were those in the van. Many people will immediately believe that. Lindsay, whilst we have you on the line, I mean, have you heard any gunfire or anything of that sort from your position?
No, we're like sort of in the hotel, which is in an area quite like far from the scene, so we haven't really heard anything now. We're sort of just away from it all.
Do stay indoors. So just to reiterate that which we've heard over the past hour or so, a van has ploughed into pedestrians in Barcelona city centre. 2 people, it is believed, so far are dead. police have described this as a terrorist incident. We can speak to Sky's David Bowden to try and give us a rather more complete picture of what we know at the moment.
Now, and do our own reporting on this. Spain's El País newspaper, which was first to report about the situation with the driver, perhaps, in the white van that jumped the sidewalk near a shopping district in Barcelona. That paper had first reported that he ran away on foot, and now that same newspaper is reporting, citing police officers and sources, that the people in the van, and they're saying more than one person in the van, we don't have a number according to this newspaper, in Barcelona are now holed up in that restaurant bar that we are hearing reports about through Reuters and now others. And as we watch our sister network there on the left, we can tell you a little bit about this district. Las Ramblas, historic, it's iconic, lots of stalls and shops. It's an open area. A lot of people would have been walking around. People jumping out of the way are some of the witness accounts that we've already been able to hear now. Away from that second scene, and now we're led to believe not awfully far. And if it is in fact the case, according to the Spanish newspaper, that the people in the van got out and went into this bar and restaurant, they were seen doing so because it was a short distance away. They are described as being armed, and now we hear reports through our Sky News sister network that there was gunfire somewhere in and around that bar restaurant. It's a Turkish bar restaurant. We are working, obviously, with our own sources on this. Guys, let me know if Amy Kellogg can come back to us. She's been following this as well in Milan, and while we wait to bring her back, we have Steve Hilton on the couch, and you and I have talked many times about terror in Europe and all the incidents that we've seen spring and summer. Amy described this as, Europe on edge. What are your thoughts right now?
Well, it's just, when you hear about a vehicle, your mind immediately goes to this kind of attack. We've seen it time and time again in London a few times earlier this year. And this weaponizing of vehicles, this very basic, simple way of carrying out a terror attack is just such a terrible trend that we're seeing. The other thing about this that reminds me of the attack we saw in London, remember the London Bridge attack, where you also had it spill over into other parts of the city. Very similar kind of setup where it was one of the iconic markets in London, and you had hostages being held in a restaurant. Same sort of thing seems to be going on. It must be just terrifying. And the last thing I'd say is that just for our viewers to be aware, I would say Las Ramblas is pretty much the most iconic place, never mind in Barcelona, in the whole of Spain.
Right,
it really
open air market.
Such a high-profile target, and that again testifies to the thought and planning that's gone into this to make an impact of the most terrible kind.
All right, we want to continue to get more Barcelona. Buck Sexton joins us live on the phone. He is a former CIA counterterrorism analyst. I wanted to get that in there, Buck, because obviously when we see a situation like this overseas, what do you make of what you're seeing and hearing so far?
Is actually telling somebody every step of the way, get the vehicles here, get your target set in this place. And so those are all things that we'll be finding out in the next few hours, the next few days. But so far, the target set alone is indicative of it being a terrorist attack. The fact that this is a heavily trafficked area, it's remote control or inspired by ISIS. And so it's all lining up right now, and it's just, unfortunately, one of these incidents where people are going to be asking questions like, how can we stop this? How can we prevent this? Very difficult to prevent a low-tech attack like this, which can also be a mass casualty low-tech attack.
And Buck, Sky News update of where we are, what we know at this point, knowing that a number of people have been run over after this van hit crowds in the Las Ramblas area of Barcelona, several people injured. According to police at this point, the driver of the van reportedly fled on foot after the crash. Barcelona police are calling this a terrorist attack at this point, and they're saying metro and railway stations there have been closed near the incident, and as Harris just reported, the Spanish newspaper is saying perpetrators are holed up in a bar. What would the situation on the ground be like for the police and the feds in this area, Buck, at this point, knowing what we know?
Well, they've already become a hostage situation. When you have individuals who are likely, although we don't know yet, but likely inspired by jihadist ideology, there's a very real possibility that they will look to increase casualties and not seek to have any resolution to this at the end where they come out alive, which is statistically likely but not yet confirmed. So that's a big part of this, and also follow-on attacks. What we saw with the major terrorist attacks in Paris over a year ago, targeted for attack at the same time to maximize the sense of psychological terror for the entire city that comes from this. So this could be a one-off. It could just be an individual or individuals in a vehicle mowing people down, similar to what we've seen in Nice and in other parts of Europe, or this could be an incident that leads to follow-on attacks, and so they're not on their side.
All right, Buck Sexton, thanks for jumping on the phone for us.
Thank you very much.
Before we go to our next guest, police have cordoned off the broad, popular street, ordering stores and nearby metro and train stations now to close. As we've been talking about, would have been a very crowded area. You can see the people in the area still, with a lot of pedestrians who walk down a very wide street with the stalls and shops on either side. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge now joins us from Washington. And Catherine, we would automatically be giving them support. What are you hearing?
Thanks, Garrett. I've been able to confirm in the last few minutes that the National Guard fits the MO of previous terrorist attacks in Europe over the summer. Number two is what seems to be simultaneous or coordinated attacks between the ramming of the crowds with the van and then also what is now appearing to be a hostage situation. And as your last guest just mentioned, what they're also trying to determine is whether this is the sum total of the events in Barcelona or whether there may be follow-on attacks as well, Harris.
Well, and, you know, I wrote those things down. They were telling Americans very early on not anticipate or did not have the list when my family and I went to Paris and London, which were definitely on that list, any ideas about Barcelona. But as our guest Steve Hilton is telling us today,
I would draw your attention to some of the Spanish media reporting that there are some intercepts which are leading the Spanish authorities to believe that it's highly likely that it was a terrorist attack. They may have also more information about the suspects who are holed up in this Turkish restaurant. Just for some context, what the authorities are able to do in a situation like this is effectively put a dome down over the area so they can pick up the phone communications as well as social media communications, which help give them a better idea of what has unfolded. To your point about the high threat level that we've seen throughout Europe that had been the basis of warnings for Americans traveling overseas, you know, really at the heart of this is the idea of the lone wolf or the self-radicalized individual who is taking very primitive tools, becomes radicalized, and launches what amounts to a small cell or low-tech attack. So that can be with knives, machetes, firearms, but sadly, more typically and recently, the use of vehicles as weapons. But that's terrorism. They would not do that without sufficient evidence to indicate that here.
Yeah, and those are excellent points. I'm seeing now, again, further reporting on that from the Associated Press on that now. So what you're pointing out is, while we don't have all the facts, that is not arbitrary for them to use that kind of terminology this early on. Catherine Herridge will bring you back as the news warrants. Thank you.
Accounts are coming in. The BBC reporting this eyewitness saying there was a loud noise and everybody ran for cover. There were a lot of people, lots of families at the site. This is one of the most visited sites in Barcelona. The witness said, I think several people were hit. It was horrible. There was panic. Terrible. Mustafa Tamiz joins us on the phone. He's a former Bush administration DHS official and a countering violent extremism expert. Thank you for jumping on with us. Can you tell us what you make of the situation so far?
Day in the Taj Hotel years ago, where assailants held up inside of a hotel, took some hostages to try to prolong a media blitz where they were able to talk about their demands, talk about their issues, and get their issues heard, to give voice to their narrow, disgusting viewpoints.
Mustafa, I want to also say, because Barcelona is such a popular tourist destination for many Americans, the U.S. consulate in Barcelona is saying, Americans in Spain, if you are safe, be sure to notify friends and loved ones. If you use social media, be sure to update your status. We are aware of the reported incident in Las Ramblas in Barcelona. Please avoid the area and monitor local police for updates, which we are. Still, we don't know that much right now, Mustafa. What is it like on the ground?